What is up, everybody? Autotech Aaron here, back with another Nasty Love build video. Today's video is going to be very exciting because we're bringing this bad girl in to get dyno tuned, and we're going to figure out the numbers that she really makes. Before we can bring it in to get it dyno tuned though, there are a couple of things that I do have to tie up as far as running our PCV here, and we have to wire the radiator fan. So let's go ahead and get those couple little things tied up, and then on Thursday, we'll go ahead and load this thing up on a trailer and bring it down to the dyno tuning shop. To wire up our cooling fan, I just got this harness off of eBay. It is a relay. We have a fuse here and just a bunch of wiring so we can run it all throughout the truck. And we have an output on our PCM that will trigger the fan relay here to turn on at a certain temperature. I believe I can actually change that in the ECM. Well, actually, I know that I can change that in the ECM. So we'll be able to set that to what the truck really needs to keep it cool. And like I said, I also have to run that PCV system. I'll probably just tee this side into that side over here, and they have to be ran to this port on the intake. And then our brake booster hose here has to go to the back of the intake. So just a couple little reroutings and wiring, and then I'll bring you guys with me to the dyno and we'll see what this girl puts down. So let's go ahead and start off by tackling this wiring. It should be fairly simple. Of course, guys, since we're doing electrical work, it is very important to disconnect our battery before even touching anything. So I'll just remove our negative terminal here, just as a good safety precaution. Okay, so if you guys see here, we have all of our atrocious wiring on this little panel here. It doesn't really look the greatest. It's a little bit of a rat's nest, but I at least know what everything is and where it goes. And that's honestly what's important to me. We have basically a place for everything. We have another relay there for the PCM, and we're gonna be adding this relay for the fan, of course. So I'm gonna just drill a hole in this little plate. I'm gonna mount it there, and then we're gonna run the wires up. One of these will go to the old wire for our alternator, and then the other one will go straight to the positive side of the fan, with the negative side being hooked straight up to a ground. And then we also have a signal wire that will come from the PCM and a ground wire that will go to the engine block as well. So that the PCM will send a positive signal, a 12-volt reference, to one of these wires, which will ground out the coil within this relay here. It'll switch it over to being turned on and give our fan power. Very simple setup, been done 100,000 times before, so we're definitely not reinventing the wheel here. So I was reading through our Terminator X Max instructions here, and I realized that I actually misspoke, and I came to the realization that PCMs are usually used as ground switching devices, not power switching devices. So that means it is providing a ground for the relay, not a power source for the relay. So basically it's a very similar concept, except one of these wires for the control side of the relay will always have power, and then the ground side will be switched through the PCM when it tells it to. You can set that up in the actual Terminator X Max at what temperature to kick that on. But again, like I said, very similar concept. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing wired up, and I will show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So we have our inputs and outputs harness here, and right now I am just depinning all the wires that I'm not gonna need, which is basically all of them. It's fairly simple. Just stick a long sharp tool in there and depress the pin, and then these pins just come right out just like that. Or sorry, depress the locking tab and then the pins come right out. We really only need this yellow with the gray, or sorry, gray with the yellow tracer. Now we're left with a connector with just one wire, which is the gray with the yellow tracer. Now we can plug this in, and this will be our ground side for our fan relay. All right, so there you have it. We have our gray wire coming off of our relay here going into the inputs and outputs harness, and that'll get turned on later. Now we need to go up into the engine bay where I ran this wiring. I actually went ahead and taped up all of the wiring in some electrical tape just to give it a cleaner look, keep all the wires together. And they run right up here. We'll tuck all that up out of the way and zip tie it out. Let's go ahead and get this all connected up and looking a lot better. All right, it is now day 2 of dyno preparation. Last you guys saw, we were doing this wiring, but my camera died and my other battery was also dead, so I ended up just finishing all this up. Our cooling fan is now completely wired in. That should all work. We'll have to test it when I get it to the dyno and they can turn on that in the ECM. But we do still have to tackle this PCV and mounting the manifold absolute temperature sensor, because right now it is just taped right there to the intake, or sorry, to the air filter. So to get started here, I'm just going to take a length of hose, cut it, and we'll tee it all in and get it all hooked up to the manifold. Super simple, easy stuff. And there you have it, one PCV. Kind of ugly, but it does the job, and that is really, honestly, all I care about. Now I just have to run this to where it is actually supposed to go, back here on the manifold. All right, you guys see what I mean by how simple that was? We have our brake booster hose here in our PCV. Yeah, it does look a little bit ugly. I'll probably someday end up making it a little bit cleaner, but for now, that'll do just fine. And these definitely aren't gonna come off because these are really tight push locks. So that is completed. Now we can move on to installing that manifold temp sensor. I'm gonna have to drill a hole somewhere. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna do it, but we'll figure it out. So I'm gonna use my vacuum here to try to catch most of the shavings. However, if some do go into the intake, it's not a big deal. They'll just get burned up during combustion. All right, guys, so we got everything tied up. We have the clutch bled, our PCV is ran, our brake booster hose is rerouted, we have the cooling fan ran. That means this thing is ready to hit the dyno. I'm gonna go over to U-Haul real quick. We'll go rent a trailer and load this bad girl up. And then tomorrow, midway through the day, I'm gonna leave work with this bad girl on the trailer. We're gonna head down to the dyno and see what she can put out for numbers. So I'm super excited. I'm gonna go grab the trailer and we'll load her up. All right, guys, it is now Thursday. As you see here, we have Nasty Luv loaded up on the trailer. We're just about to head to Polson, Montana to go get a Dyno Tune done at D&D Customs. So let's hit the road. All right, we are here at D&D Customs and Coatings. We got the truck right here, just about to unload it. And then they got to clean out their dyno bay, and we'll bring it over there and see if they can't get it done. As you guys see behind me, we got Nasty Luv loaded up. We hit the dyno and I am super happy with the results. It's exactly where I wanted the truck to be. I was guesstimating it was going to be between 400 to 450 wheel horsepower. We ended up being right at 411 rear wheel horsepower on a Mustang dyno, which I am super stoked about. This thing is going to be a fun truck to drive. It's all tuned up now, so it won't blow up. Hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, you know. But now we're gonna make the 45-minute drive back home, and I'll probably take her out for a nice little cruise. So with the truck being dyno tuned, this is pretty exciting stuff. It means that I can really get out and start to drive this thing. I probably do need to get another set of wheels and tires at some point, something that's not slicks, so I'm at least driving semi-legally on the road. And I'm gonna be cruising this thing to work, to all the meets, taking it out Friday night cruising. And I'm gonna try to have as much fun with this truck as I possibly can. which I'm sure won't be too difficult with the power that it makes and the weight that it is. I also just ordered a bunch more stuff for the truck. I ordered a passenger seat. I ordered a tablet so that we can set it up as our dash for monitoring data, just so that we can make sure this thing isn't going to blow up while driving down the road. So I got a bunch of part installs coming for you guys. I promise this build is very, very far from over. Anyways, I'm going to focus on driving, and I'll catch you guys when I get home. All right, guys, so I do have to make this rather quick. We're about to take this thing on a cruise, but I first have to install the new passenger seat that just came in the mail. My girlfriend really wants to go with me on this little cruise that we're gonna do. So we gotta go ahead and get that thing installed, of course. But I also have to try to go sell a Forester that I have out there. So I'm in a bit of a time crunch. I'm gonna take all the bolts off of this seat here, or not all the bolts. I'm gonna take some of the bolts off of our driver's seat, which is already installed, so I can go to the hardware store, match them up, get the same bolts for that side, and then do the same thing that I did on this side over there. All right, so we just got back from the hardware store. I took the Grom, and I tell you guys what, we're on a bit of a time crunch, and that is probably the least amount of time I have ever spent in the hardware store looking for fasteners. This definitely wasn't cheap. These are all grade 8 and stainless. This was $20-something in bolts. Huh, that sounded fast. Anyways, this was $20 in bolts. I'm gonna go ahead and get this seat unboxed, and we'll get it attached to the frame right there, get some holes drilled, and get it installed in the truck as quick as possible. Okay, so now that we have the rails on, I'm gonna go ahead and set this in the truck, and we will mark for the 2 holes that are not already drilled in the floor. All right, a little bit of a fast forward. I'm trying to bust this out, so I went ahead and drilled the holes, and I made a spacer over there. I tell you guys what, it probably took me 2 hours to install the first seat. This one I'll probably have done in 30 minutes. So anyways, I'm gonna get back to work. I'm gonna tighten all these up. We'll install the seatbelt and be ready to cruise. Okay guys, there we have it. The passenger seat is fully installed with a working seatbelt. And no, these are not permanent. Eventually the truck's gonna get proper 5-point harnesses. And we're gonna go ahead and reinstall the driver's seat that I took the bolts out of so that I can match them up. And I'll swap out the rear tires and we're gonna hit the road. This is kind of just the normal traffic here, but we've got plenty of cool cars out. This is definitely pretty fun. The truck is running great. I couldn't ask for more. Man, we're doing great for coolant temperature and oil pressure. Woo! Fast little S10. All right, guys, so Nasty Love is back home. The first cruise went great, with the exception of our tire to fender clearance over here. It kind of burned up the paint and made a good little slit in our tire there. I'm not super concerned about it, but we definitely do need to get another set of wheels and tires for this truck for daily driving and street driving in general, because that's not going to be too great as far as longevity. However, the truck ran great. It never got over 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'll tell you guys what, it sure does have a ton of power. But that about wraps up what I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment about what you think about the truck so far. Be sure to smash that like button, and I will catch you guys in the next Nasty Love build video.